Since its establishment, the Northcote Golf Course has been an exclusive and enclosed landscape, governed by private rules. It has blocked most people from connecting with this public space and created both physical and ecological barriers between Merri Creek and its once diverse habitats. This project proposes an ecologically led transformation of the golf course, prioritizing native species, with the return of the swamp wallaby as the key measure of success. Walking along the Merri Creek Trail, the fences and steep terrain on both sides of the creek create a strong sense of separation. But upon entering flatter areas where the creek opens up and forms shallow zones, signs of life begin to appear. I observed gray-headed ducks and crested ducks quietly foraging in the water, subtle yet meaningful indicators of habitat value. The Northcote Golf Course is located at the intersection of the Moorland, Darwin, and Yarra Council areas. In addition to the involvement of these three city councils, the work and guidance of Friends of Merri Creek and other community partners plays a significant role in shaping the ecological version of the site. In 2023, Friends of Merri Creek applied for funding through the Green Links grant program, aiming to establish wildlife zones and vegetated connection points along the creek. These dense mid-story vegetation, ground-level shrubs, and grasses primarily provide movement corridors for the swamp wallaby. At the Northcote Golf Course, a total of 2.9 hectares is designated for vegetation restoration, mainly along the banks of Merri Creek and its tributary, Branken Creek, which flows through the site. Since 2007, there have been approximately 25 reported sightings of swamp wallabies near the golf course. The remaining wallaby pollutions within the urban landscape continue to seek suitable refuges. The golf course, due to its ban on dog walking and the weedy vegetation along the adjacent Merri Creek, has become a location where swamp wallabies have been repeatedly sighted returning to the urban area. So the question becomes, as landscape architects, what can we do for the swamp wallaby? The site is adjacent to Norman Bar Avenue on the north side, surrounded by densely populated residential areas. Near Merri Creek, there are walking and cycling paths that encircle the site, but access is not permitted. The site currently has two entrances. The main entrance, located at the northeast corner, includes a car park, while the secondary entrance, located at the southeast corner, is for pedestrian only. By considering factors such as land use type, vegetation density, distance to roads, distance to water, distance to wetland, population density, and slope, an ecological stability map of the site can be created. Next are the three strategies. Start with reshaping the riparian edge. The banks of Merri Creek are steep and eroded, creating physical and ecological barriers. In this design, those edges are regraded into gentle walkable slopes, planting native sages and soft wetland vegetation to soften the transmission between land and the water. This makes it possible for swamp wallabies to move freely across the creek. The second is the seasonal wetlands. These are shallow, rain-fed basins designed to mimic the swampy environments that wallabies once lived in. They provide shelter and cool microclimates during dry periods. Third, restoring dense understory vegetation. This means to create a layered protective habitat. It offers food and shelter and protects wallabies from dogs and predators. The design begins at the river's edge, where the steep and eroded banks of Merri Creek are regraded into gentle slopes. This not only provides a safer passage for swamp wallabies, but also transforms the creek into an ecological ecotone, enabling a natural connection between water and land. Following the riparian reshaping, a seasonal wetland is created to simulate the site's original swamp-like characteristics. The swamp wallaby, after all, gets its name from its association with such habitats. These shallow basins are nourished by rainfall rather than diverted creek water. Surrounding the wetlands is a dense understory vegetation belt, primarily composed of shrubs. This is the most important habitat zone for swamp wallabies. The eastern half of the site is programmed to provide gathering and nature-based spaces for people. Only after the habitat matures are boardwalks and lookout points introduced. Human activity in this landscape is not dominant, but guided and educated. Along the creek banks, native sedges such as Norway Russian tussock grass are planted. These herbaceous species form soft green corages that resist erosion and attract native wildlife. At the edge of the seasonal wetlands, species such as spike rush and tar sage are planted. They provide summer refuge and winter shelter for swamp wallabies, while also enhancing biodiversity. The dense understory shrub layer is composed of species such as bramble, buckthorn, and hawthorn. These thorny plants offer food and shelter for swamp wallabies while deterring predators. At the same time, they restrict human and pet access to these zones. Over time, these shrubs develop into a multi-layered refuge, just as shown in the section drawing, where swamp wallabies can hide by day and emerge by night in safety. The replanting schedule starts with soil preparation and grassland restoration in the first year. In the next 3 years, understory shrubs and small trees will be planted. After 5 years, once the habitat has matured, selective public access is gradually introduced. The first section shows how the terrain transitions from the riparian edge through wetlands into dense shrubland and finally into an open lawn. The second section zooms in on the edge of the seasonal wetland, illustrating the wooden bridge crossing the basin and how nearby shrub clusters provide cover and regulate visibility for the swamp wallaby. A swamp wallaby sets off from Yarra Bend Park, traveling north along Merri Creek in search of habitat. One day, it might pass by the transformed Northcote golf course, discover it's a perfect place to stay, and settle here. Each season brings a different landscape, but what remains constant is the conforming presence of dense shrubs and nearby swampy wetlands. At first, wallabies may hide when they see people, but years later, they may calmly gaze into the lens and say hi. This project is dedicated to designing a habitat-first landscape for the swamp wallaby. I have studied and reconstructed the key environmental conditions essential to their survival, especially topography, understory vegetation density, and seasonal hydrology. I did not focus on the formal design of public facility or recreational elements. My intention was for ecological system to lead rather than be adjusted for human use. Here, human presence is a privilege, not a priority. This project invites people to witness the process of rewilding and to imagine a future of living alongside the swamp wallaby. Thank you for listening.